Baton Rouge. This hour brought to you by Spencer Callahan Injury Lawyers, LA 21-12681. Offices in Baton Rouge. Hanny time. Hanny time. A daily look at sports from our resident historian. Your sports break during your lunch break. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. Here's Charles Sandegriff.
And welcome you in to the Thursday edition of Handy Time. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Charles Sandegriff. Mario Jerez back from his two-day hiatus. And Taylor Sharp as well. With you here this afternoon. Scott Rabelais in about 15 minutes. He's in Greenville, South Carolina with the LSU women's basketball team. They get underway in the SEC tournament tomorrow. And at the bottom of the hour, Chris Rosvoglu from Boot Crew Media. We will talk with him about the NFL Combine that starts today in Indianapolis and the latest with the Saints on Derek Carr. Before we get into the basketball, there is news that has come out of Las Vegas on the Alvin Kamara battery case. Kamara, along with Chris Lamons, who plays for the Bengals, and two other men, pleaded not guilty in the battery case. And the judge today set a trial date for, this is going to be a jury trial for July the 31st. So we'll obviously have more on this story as it comes. But for now, you would think that the Saints will have some type of resolution to this matter, and you would think that the NFL will act very, very quickly once this matter is taken care of at the trial level. The NFL doesn't comment on these cases until there's some kind of resolution. Well, however long this trial takes, and I don't imagine this is going to be a very lengthy trial. Once that happens and it is ruled on, I would expect the NFL to rule very, very quickly after that. I mean, they've had this case by the time it gets to that trial, they will have had the details as they know them, the NFL I'm talking about, and the Saints for that matter, for over a year and a half. So after this is over with, it shouldn't take them very long to met out whatever is coming the Saints' way. I mention it because there's almost no chance that Kamara is going to escape some kind of discipline. Now, if they find him guilty, I don't know what the court is going to rule, okay, sentencing, all that. I'm not I haven't seen all of the evidence. I haven't seen all the tapes. I'm not going to even speculate about that. But I will say to you that I have every bit of confidence in the world that Alvin Kamara is not going to be eligible for 17 games for the Saints next year. How many games? Could be a few, could be none. We'll see. They set that trial date for July 31st. That's after the Saints report to camp, but before their first preseason game. So more on that if we get it, but right now that's where it is. Kamara going to trial with three others on July 31st in Las Vegas. All right, Missouri, 81-76 over LSU. Did you watch last night? I understand a lot of you have, just kind of given up the ghost, and I have too. I mean, there's been no expectations for this season now for, the better part of the last 2 months. But I did watch. I do watch. I want to see what kind of progress is being made. And last night, I'll be honest, this game means nothing in the standings to LSU. I mean, really, realistically, nothing. There's no postseason. It's not going to get you any more recruits. This is not going to get you out of anything with the NCAA. All of the goals for the season. This was just about pure D pride. This was the last time we're going to play at home. The KJ Williams has only been here a year, but I think you have to respect the amount of effort and just the overall attitude of the player that you go ahead and honor him on senior night. It was neat that they got Parker Edwards a start in this game. And then he hit 2 3-pointers, and I'm going, why are you playing this guy? I'm only sort of kidding, by the way, on that for a team that's been starved for any shooting of any kind. If you had asked me yesterday at this time, LSU makes 14 3-pointers in this game. Like, did the game go to 7 overtimes or something like that? I mean, it's not going to hit that many shots. They hit 14 3-point shots. They shot 90% from the free throw line and still led the game for over 36 of the 40 minutes and still managed to lose. It's kind of been the story. I would say it's been the story of the season, but this particular scenario is not the story of the season. They haven't led most games for 36 minutes. They certainly haven't hit 14 three-pointers in very many games. It's just finding another way to lose. They have lost close. They have lost big. They've lost when they went to the break down. They've lost when they went to the break up. This was just another one of those things. I would have liked to have seen them win it for no other reason, to give the kids something good to feel about, but it's just been that kind of year. And a week from now, it'll be over. Matt McMahon on the loss to Mizzou.
KJ, another monster game. Obviously, we're putting two and three on him at a time. We're trying to get it to him on every trip, and unable to do so there late in the game. A couple key possessions, I thought, we got to stop. About 2 minutes to go, up by 2. They shot an air ball 3. We were unable to come up with the rebound. They got to put back there. We take a bad shot late. We were unable to get anything going there. And then Hodge buries a huge 3. So credit to Missouri. They put a lot of pressure on you defensively. All 1 through 5 can beat you off the dribble and back in and get to the rim and make plays at the basket. If you go double, they can all shoot it from the three-point line. So obviously disappointed.
Missouri wins games like this. They have won a ton of games like this. They won a 2-point game against Mississippi State last week. They won a 1-point game at Tennessee. They won a very close game against Arkansas at home. They won a 1-possession game against Vanderbilt at home. They find ways to win. And by the way, new coach there, big turnover there. They have found ways to win a lot of conference games, and LSU's found a way to lose a lot of conference games. I'd tell you different if I thought. I mean, what can I say? Missouri's taken their turnover and what they've done in close games, and they've made it work, and LSU hasn't. One of the teams has 10 wins in the conference. The other team's got 2 wins in the conference. And last March at this time, there wasn't a hell of a lot of difference between the Missouri job and the LSU job. Once the coaches were out and you looked at what you had on the roster, wasn't very much in either place. Major rebuild in both places. Missouri's here. LSU is here. What can I tell you? 16 turnovers didn't help either. News was better late last night. Did you stay up? I got to be honest with you. I'm having a hard time staying up quite that late for Pels and Portland. Man, I was fading at the end of the third quarter. It was getting late. I'm not the youngest guy anymore. But what was a very close game all the way through 3 quarters, going to the fourth quarter, as I'm struggling to stay awake, not because the game wasn't good, the game was excellent, but because, like I said, I'm older and it was getting late. I was really convinced that when I finished with this game that the Pelicans were going to find another way to lose. Sorry, that's what I was thinking going to the fourth quarter. At the end of the third quarter, the game had some similarities to what they did with Toronto in the first game out of the break. A very close game for most of it. Portland led for a good portion of this game, but they never ran away with it. So going to the fourth quarter, they're going to find a way to lose, and they didn't. Brandon Ingram explodes for 40 points in this game, and the Pelicans did something in the second half that they have not done in a single game this season. Mario, you're our Pels guy. We've been without you for 2 days. They lost while you were gone. Thanks a lot for that. What did the Pelicans do in the second half that they haven't done in a single game this year?
I got nothing.
In fact, they have not done this in several. They went an entire half without turning the ball over.
Oh, wow.
Pelicans 6 turnovers for the entire game, and believe me, it made a difference. And between that and Brandon Ingram going off for 40 points, it was a nice win over – not a nice win. C.J. McCollum called it a must win. Blazers are right next to you in the standings, okay? New Orleans, it's been a hell of a week for the Pels. Lose Alvarado, lose Nance. Zion update is still a week away from being a week away or whatever. You want to get into the play, and this is a game that you needed to win. You go to the fourth quarter, you've got a chance to win. It's a 1 possession game going in the fourth quarter. You got to find a way to win these things. Pels have found a way to lose way too many of them. Not last night. Willie Green on Brandon Ingram's big night in Portland.
I'm extremely proud of Brandon. I thought on one of the biggest stages, which is a national televised game, he comes out and he dominates, and that's what we need from him. He's one of the better players in the league, and we put the ball in his hands. He makes great decisions, finds his teammates, and we talked about it after the game, but him and CJ both, they just put us on their back and they carried us. And then the rest of the guys, Herb, Najee, Billy, Jax, Kyra, Dice, Jay Rich, Trey, I can go down the list, but all of those guys came in and contributed, and that's what it's going to take.
Jonas missed last night's game. He's been kind of an Iron Man for the Pels this year, but he did miss last night's game, and Billy did start the game like Willie Green talked about. But it was late in the game how they utilized Herb Jones with the smaller lineup that paid some dividends for New Orleans.
Herb was great. We got to use him like that at times and not just have him in the corner offensively for us, putting him in pick and roll, allowing him to dive, allowing him to initiate plays at times. And so right now is a time where we have to make adjustments, and I think that's what myself and our staff are doing. We're looking at the film and saying, how can we create offense for ourselves? So tonight it was good to see us kind of break through.
They, when they go small, okay, and, I contribute to the program. Shamit Dua was talking about this on Twitter last night, that when they go with a lineup of Herb, Trey, and Najee out there, they just seem a little bit more, and I agree with Shamit on that point. They just seem a little bit more active defensively. And look, Jonas's usage in the fourth quarter has drawn some scrutiny or lack thereof, that they're not getting him the ball. But defensively, there's maybe something to this, that they go a little bit smaller. Now, will that work every night? I can't tell you that, but at least, in this night, it did work. Pels staying in 10th place in the Western Conference. Lakers got a win last night, minus Anthony Davis, minus LeBron James, and they go get a win anyway. They're a game behind New Orleans in the standings. Utah, by the way, can I tell you that Utah is maybe the most aggravating team in professional sports to me right now? You want to know why? Utah tried to lose this year. They tried to lose. Danny Ainge put together a team designed to put them in the lottery, designed to put them in the best chance to get Victor. He ran off Rudy Gobert for a bunch of players who are not there anymore. He traded Donovan Mitchell for mostly a bunch of players who won't be on the roster for quite some time. He's got a bucket load of draft picks, but none of those guys here. With a general manager trying to tank, they're still with the same record as the Pelicans. That aggravates me. But the good news is that of course, I've been saying this since probably November. Utah can't keep this up, right? Okay, I mean they're going to lose at some point, and I understand Markkanen is having the year of his life, but with 19 games to go, I expect Utah to fall back. Despite what happened last night, I don't think that the Lakers can make a push into the playoffs without LeBron. Now, if LeBron, I told you this last week when we saw the game right before the All-Star break, if they'd have been able to keep those guys on the floor, that lineup that they put together post-trade, with D'Angelo Russell out there, with Jared Vanderbilt out there, with Malik Beasley out there, with Anthony Davis actually playing in the games, and LeBron motivated to play the last 4 weeks of the season, I don't think that they would have been able to hold off the Lakers. But if LeBron's not going to play the rest of the month, and we don't know that he is, and Davis does his usual one game on, one game off, he'd been a great oil field worker, He'd take a week on, a week off. I don't think the Lakers make that push. They did win last night. Take a break. When we come back, we'll go to Greenville, South Carolina, LSU in the women's basketball tournament. We'll also get Rab's thoughts on the Alvin Kamara situation. This is Hanny Time, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
The best-kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Hey, it's Matt Musso. Join me Monday through Friday for your daily update on LSU baseball with Musso at the Box, presented by New Orleans Flooring, wherever you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, Google, and check out New Orleans Flooring. 2 locations, Metairie and Prairieville, or NOLAFlooring.com.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of Walker.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCORoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial roofing job, HUDCO can help.
My patients come to me because they trust that I can get the job done at a high level. Ryan Terrio and Richard Tilley have the same level of trust when it comes to roofing.
If you have a roofing issue, call HUDCO Roofing.
Give us a call, 364-1007, and we'll come to your house and give you a free inspection.
I had to leave my parents. I had to move schools. I don't know anyone here. Everything keeps changing. Why is this happening to me? I'm sure glad you're here.
Change a child's story. There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644.
Moscona inviting you to join us for Thursday's AFR, presented by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana. Workouts underway in Indy. We'll have the latest from the Combine. We'll recap LSU and Pels hoops. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time with Charles Hannegriff on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Final weekend of the men's basketball regular season. We got conference tournaments that are already underway the last couple of days, and the Sun Belt's got action going today. We got baseball on TV. Something about spring training baseball on TV just puts me in a good mood. Doesn't mean I'm watching necessarily, grinding pitch by pitch. It's just so on in the background. Just makes me feel like, hey, the weather's warm. Life is pretty good. And basketball tournaments. We're into March now. SEC Women's Basketball Tournament in Greenville, South Carolina, which, by the way, is going to be one of 2 sites for the second weekend of the Women's NCAA Tournament. Scott Rabelais is there with the LSU basketball team. Scott, good afternoon. How are you?
Charles, I'm well. Good to be with you. Glad we're in March now. The madness is here. Let's go.
Yeah, well, I know that with the double bye and the warm weather and the preponderance of golf courses in the area, you're happy that LSU doesn't play until 5 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. So you can work in some time on the links, right?
So the weather's looking a little iffy tomorrow, but I'm going to give it a go. I'm going to give it a go. Yes.
All right, Scott. I'm going to give you a range of scenarios here, and I want you to tell me, correct me where I am wrong. Okay, so here's where I'm going to start. LSU loses tomorrow, regardless of who wins this Georgia-Auburn game that will provide their opponent. LSU loses tomorrow, they are still a 2 seed. LSU wins tomorrow, they are still a 2 seed. You with me?
Yes.
All right. Saturday, when they face what the best opponent would be Tennessee, the worst opponent would be Kentucky. That's the 3 seed or the 14 seed. LSU loses on Saturday, no matter who they play. They are still a 2 seed. They win Saturday. They are still a 2 seed. You still with me?
Yes.
Okay. Let's go to Sunday. LSU loses on Sunday, regardless of who they play, and we all know that South Carolina is a huge favorite in this tournament. They are still a 2 seed, correct?
Yes.
They win on Sunday. They're probably still a 2 seed. Yes?
That gives them a title and obviously a very huge win. They would not have a great conference schedule, but their net is number 2 right now. Yeah, they went up to 2 in the net. Don't ask me how. I don't even know why the net loves LSU so much, quite honestly.
Well, they're 27-1. I mean,
27-1.
I mean, that's pretty. The one loss is on the road to the number 1 team. I understand the non-conference schedule wasn't great and the league wasn't as good as it has been, but 27-1 is still a haul, man.
27-1 ties to the best regular season record in program history with the 04-05 team. So yeah, it's quite good. And in the last reveal that the NCAA selection committee had, they had Utah as a 1 seed, the last 1 seed, and LSU is the best 2 seed. So they would play in a regional. I just don't know how you justify if Utah doesn't. Okay, let's talk about conference terms. If Stanford, who Utah beat the other day to share the Pac-12 regular season title, Stanford comes back and wins the Pac-12 tournament, I think Stanford's a 1 seed. I think and LSU wins their tournament, I think Utah's out. I think they have to pick LSU over Utah because their net is not nearly as good. Yeah, the net is not nearly as good. So maybe I'm living in a fool's paradise or something. I don't know, but I think the committee would. They've made LSU the top 2 seed in both their reveals, and now their net is better than ever. And if they had a title to go along with that, with a win over what is everyone considers hands down the best team, that would be hard for them to pass up, I think.
Wake up and smell the coffee, Mrs. Bueller. It's a fool's paradise out there. Kim Mulkey thinks that regardless of what happens, I mean, these are her words, not mine, that regardless of what happens in Greenville, they're a 2 seed.
Yes, she does.
Win, lose. Now, I don't know if she's trying to set a backfire or if, she's trying to just tweak the tournament, or if she doesn't go out there a lot with stuff she doesn't believe. She's not just going to pontificate for the sake of it. So, yeah, I think that she actually believes that. Whether she's right or not would require a win against South Carolina, I think, to prove her wrong. So, Scott, the 2 seed versus the 1 seed, I don't know that it's nearly as big a deal. I said this a couple of weeks ago. If I'm LSU, I'd rather be a 2 seed in Greenville, South Carolina than a 1 seed in Seattle. Does that make any sense?
Sure. I mean, less travel and more chance to have fans there, that sort of thing. And you're probably playing. Maybe you get a depleted UConn team as your number 2 if you're the 1 seed, maybe. But yeah, to be a 2 seed to Utah's probably going to go out west. I don't know who'd be the 2 seed to Indiana, who's very highly regarded, or somebody like that. They wouldn't play South Carolina. They could both be sent to Greenville, as we've said before, and not play each other, and both advance. But it's I don't know. It's not much difference. I mean, there's South Carolina, and then there's a group of teams behind them in the net. I'll just run down the top of the net real quickly. 2 is LSU, 3 Indiana, 4 Stanford, 5 UConn, 6 Notre Dame, 7 Utah, 8 Iowa. So, throw a hat over all those teams, and they're still all going to be an underdog to South Carolina when they play. And they will all have a chance to make the Final Four. So, with the right draw, the right play, that sort of thing. So, it's all there. It's not a big difference, other than everyone's trying to knock off South Carolina, which is where LSU and all these other teams are anyway.
Scott, in the parking lot of Tiger Stadium, there were more people to see the LSU women's basketball team onto the bus than there were at games last year. I'm sorry, 2 years ago. Just
I
give
thought
me
you were going to say more than at the men's game last night.
well, that too.
that
too. But I did my men's. I did my penance. I did my men's basketball portion in the first segment, so I was hoping to move on from that.
That's fine.
So what type of fan presence do you think that they will have for this tournament? That Moki herself is saying, listen, win, lose, or draw, we're in the same boat next week, regardless.
Yeah, I've gotten to know some of the more diehard fans, and one of them is Chris Guillotte, of course, the voice of Alex Box Stadium in the stands. Not Bill Franquez, but
he's missing Central Connecticut State for this. Are you kidding me?
No, he is not. He said he's not coming. So
right.
I don't think there's a lot of people coming. I think they're biding their time on thinking, I'm going to go to a regional in the Final Four, by hook or by crook.
Save their money, absolutely.
Yeah, and especially since you might come back here in 2 or 3 weeks or whatever it is. So I don't know if LSU is going to have a huge presence here. Obviously, it's in South Carolina. I used to joke that the SEC women's tournament by law had to be played in the state of Tennessee or a state that touches Tennessee, when Tennessee was the top dog. And now it seems to be South Carolina. This is like the pretty much permanent home of the women's tournament, like Nashville is for the men. And it's fine. It's a nice city. It's a nice arena. I'm sure that when Texas and OU join the league, they're going to go, man, that's a long way for us to travel. So we'll see about that. But it's the way it is. But yeah, I think I don't think everybody's getting too hot and bothered over this, other than LSU could be a 1 seed, and I obviously that would be a great feather in the cap of the program. But at the same time, as we've said, does it make a whole lot of difference to their chances of getting to Dallas in the Final Four? Probably not.
Alvin Kamara today pleading not guilty, trial on July 31st. How do you think the Saints proceed with the rest of the offseason, given Kamara's, I guess, the not knowing exactly how this is going to turn out? How does Saints approach this?
Well, you better get some kind of insurance, right? And he's getting a little long in the tooth for a running back as well, So there's that also. I mean, either insurance through a trade or the draft or a free agent signing or a combination thereof. There better be something else, because there are. If I'm Mickey Loomis, I'm really not sure he's going to be be our lead running back in the fall. So just adds to the needs that the Saints have. Obviously, it would have been nice for them to be able to say, oh, well, we've got this covered. Alvin's still got, a couple of good years left, really at the top of his game and that sort of thing. But, you could be totally without it. I mean, it's something that you have to buy some insurance against, for sure, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm in favor of them drafting his replacement probably on day 2, and we'll see when he has to be replaced, if that's sooner or later. Rab, have a safe trip back, and we'll talk to you next week.
All the best, Charlie. Thank you.
All right, thanks a lot. Scott Rabelais with the LSU women's basketball team in Greenville. We'll take a break. We'll talk with Chris Rossvoglu from Boot Crew Media, Saints, and the Alvin Kamara story, obviously, but also the Combine starting today in Indy. This is Hanny Time, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time.
Had another great buying experience at Infinity of Baton Rouge this past weekend. We keep going back time and time again because, we get everything we want when we go to Acura and Infinity of Baton Rouge. We're going to get the exact vehicle that we want. If we're in the certified pre-owned program, we're going to have it to year and mileage specifications that we want. It's going to be transparency in the pricing. This is not going to be a long, drawn-out process that's going to cause you a lot of anguish. And right now, Infinity of Baton Rouge wants to buy vehicles from customers right off the street. It's easy to get an offer, whether you're looking to sell it to them, whether you're looking to trade it in on another model, or just get a quote to find out what your vehicle is worth. Takes less than 15 minutes, no pressure to buy. Certified pre-owned program includes that rigorous inspection to get it back to code to qualify for the 6-year unlimited mile warranty and 1 full year of prepaid maintenance. Acura and Infinity of Baton Rouge.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want it. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of Walker.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCORoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial roofing job, HUDCO can help.
My patients come to me because they trust that I can get the job done at a high level. Ryan Terrio.
Jimmy Ott and Charles Henniger for the Thursday edition of Game Time, 6 to 8 p.m. from the original Walk-Ons on Burbank. Colucci time as well. That's Game Time, 6 to 8 p.m. Thursday from Walk-Ons on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny time.
Yeah, I hear that promo, and I get a little nostalgic when he says the original walk-ons. You know, when we first started doing shows there, it was the only walk-ons. there's a lot of them now. It'd be good to be back in walk-ons for baseball season. This year, we'll be there tonight for Jimmy Ott's Game Time. Joining us now, Chris Rosvoglou from Boot Crew Media covering the Saints. Chris, good afternoon. How are you?
Good afternoon. I'm doing well.
All right, let's give me your reaction to the trial date now being set. Alvin Kamara pleads not guilty along with 3 others today. the trial date set in Las Vegas, a jury trial for July 31st. This is after camp will have started, but still well in advance of the season, in time for the league to rule on this before the Saints get started. What do you think the Saints' reaction to this will be from a personnel standpoint?
Honestly, I think from a personnel standpoint, before today, the Saints were probably under the assumption anyway that they would need to really upgrade this backfield, because even if you take Alvin's situation out of the equation, they would need another running back in there after seeing, how little depth they had. But I think with this news coming in, I think it should be further confirmation that if the Saints want to really, maximize their offense this upcoming season and really boost the backfield in the offseason, I think you kind of take an approach where act like you don't have a running back at all right now. And yes, you will get Alvin back, I'd imagine, at some point if he were suspended, and that would be great. But, if you miss him for 6 games, 8 games, whatever it could potentially be, man, that'd be devastating, because who are you going to lean on? So I think if you are New Orleans, you're looking at free agency. You're definitely looking at this year's draft class. And I think you're looking for a running back that can take a larger workload on from the jump, and hopefully that doesn't transpire for just next season, but for the seasons to follow, because Alvin also is getting a little bit up there in age. But either way, I'd look at the situation where, man, it's a dire need at running back.
If you held Mickey Loomis down and said, give me your absolute best guess as to what's going to happen with Kamara from the I'm not asking him to predict what the court's going to do, but what the league is going to do. What do you think the organization believes that they are facing with Kamara and the time he will have to be away?
I would imagine they believe he's going to get suspended. In terms of, what's the amount of games. There's been different theories floated out there. Some people have said as little as 4. Some people have said as many as 8. So, I try to meet in the middle and say, if I'm the Saints, I expect him to miss, let's say, anywhere between 4 to 8 games. And I think that it was almost a relief early last season when you were like, okay, this thing's getting pushed back. He's not going to get suspended. And now looking at the way the whole year transpired, you're almost like, okay, it would have almost been a benefit to the team had the suspension happened last year as opposed to this year. But I think that between the alleged details of what's happened, the videos that have come out over the last month, and now that it will go to trial, like you said, in late July, I'd be shocked if they're not expecting to miss Alvin for a certain amount of time.
Any chance that he doesn't play at all?
I would be a little bit surprised by that. I think that, when we look at recent history, not the same situation, but I remember when Ezekiel Elliott had, a looming suspension on and off, and eventually ended up being, I believe, 6 games, and he ended up eating that suspension and taking it as it was, but it got pushed back for a while. But I would be surprised, considering just the overall length of the season and the fact that, the way it's been handled. I think if the NFL was going to have a situation where Alvin would have missed a really extended period of time, like what you're alluding to there as a hypothetical, I kind of feel like that would have happened already. There would have been maybe a harsher reaction last year after it happened, because, it has been over 12 months since this incident occurred. So I would be a little stunned by that.
Let's move on to Derek Carr. Saints and Carr meeting again. He's met with the Panthers. He's met with the Jets. He's been to New Orleans. They have met in New Orleans. They have met in Indianapolis. There was some conversations between them in between those 2 visits. Chris, if the Saints and Derek Carr were dating, somebody would have asked, hey, are you guys ever going to get married? Or are you just going to break up? So I don't know what else they could learn about each other at this point, other than this just looks like a contract negotiation to me. Where are you on Derek Carr and the Saints?
Yeah, I think that you kind of hit the nail on the head there. I think the way I look at it for Derek Carr's situation is bearing, another team entering this sweepstakes, and at the very little kind of just raising the price for Derek Carr, not just for that team, but for the Saints. It's at the point where there's nothing else the Saints can really do right now unless outbid themselves. If the Jets were going to make an offer that was going to wow Derek Carr and also be the right fit for him, I think they would have done that already. But I think deep down they want to wait for Aaron Rodgers and see what happens there. As for the Panthers, just listening to Frank Reich and how he speaks, you can see the difference in where teams are at, because the Panthers seem okay with, re-signing Sam Darnold and then drafting a quarterback. They don't seem like, Derek Carr is plan A, plan B, and plan C all in one. And then you look at how the Saints have approached this situation. They've already met with him twice. They were the first team to even get a visit in prior to him getting released. And I think the Saints know what he can do schematically for their system. Dennis Allen obviously has a connection there. And the Saints have made it pretty evident between what Mickey Loomis has said to the media, but also I'd imagine what was said during their face-to-face meetings, that he's the guy that they want under center for 2023. And it really is no one else for them. It's actually reached that point where when you think of if they were to miss on call, what would happen next? There's a little bit of unknown because the Saints have been so adamant about wanting him. So I think for this, it comes down to between today and March 13th, when the negotiation period kind of opens up for other teams. I think maybe Derek Carr and his camp are waiting for another team to enter the fray and maybe raise the price. But other than that, I think there's many reasons that would lead to the Saints being the favorites right now.
Is this similar to the situation a year ago with Deshaun Watson, where they went as far as they could go from a money standpoint, draft pick standpoint, got the owner involved, everything was in there, they made their best pitch, and when they didn't get him, it was kind of like, oh, man, okay, Andy Dalton, I guess. Is it going to be that again this year? Is there, like you said, there is no plan B? Derek Carr's the guy they want. Derek Carr's the guy they're going all in on. Derek Carr's going to get their best offer. If he goes somewhere else, it's going to be, all right, Andy Dalton.
You know, I would say if it plays out that way, it definitely feels similar. But where I think it's a little bit different here is I think from the Saints, if Derek Carr wasn't interested in them, I don't think he would have taken one, let alone two visits with them. So I think that's a good thing that they have going there. Whereas for the Deshaun Watson sweepstakes last year, it was so interesting because you would hear all these reports about who met with him, but you never heard kind of a thing from Deshaun Watson's camp. And then when he ended up getting that deal from the Browns, it kind of makes sense why it happened because no other team was going to do what they did with fully guaranteeing that contract like Cleveland. So from the Saints' perspective, if it is a little bit of money, right, and you know, let's say Derek Carr were to get a couple $1 million more from, let's say, the Jets, and he really wanted to go to the Saints, we can tell the Saints that the Saints can be probably more than willing to either match that offer or find a way to wiggle out some more space to make a deal happen. So I think that there's definitely, I don't want to say more margin for error, but I think that the Saints have a way better likelihood now with the Derek Carr situation than they did with Watson because, you know, everyone talks about the Browns deal, but even if Watson didn't go there, I kind of felt like the Falcons kind of leapfrogged the Saints in the sweepstakes at that time too. So I do think the disappointment would be similar if they do miss out on Derek Carr. But I think right now there isn't that huge concern of, hey, what if another team comes over the top right now? I think the options that Derek Carr has, they haven't really changed. I don't really expect them to change at this moment. And it's really just going to come down to if his camp says, hey, look, the offers aren't getting any better, so let's just make our pick before other guys are available.
When Cleveland guaranteed 100% of that salary, 31 other owners in the league started audibly cursing loudly because that deal completely threw the marker. Nobody more than Steve Bisciotti in Baltimore, because the Deshaun Watson contract, in my opinion, it's what's holding up the Lamar Jackson contract. It's not the amount of money. It's the amount of guaranteed money. And Jackson wants 100% guaranteed like Cleveland gave Watson. And Baltimore's like, no, Cleveland is the only team in the league that did that. We're not doing that for a guy who's started and finished only one game in December and January the last 2 years. So that Watson you may be very right about the Falcons, but if the Falcons had gotten him, I don't think it would have been the 100% guarantee. I think that was the hammer that nobody else was willing to go, and Cleveland decided that they would completely throw off the market for quarterbacks.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned the Lamar thing, and that's where it's fascinating, too, because that definitely is playing a factor right now. And people have said, hey, look, he might get 5-year $250 from the Ravens, but fully guaranteeing a contract of that nature is just, absolutely absurd in today's NFL. But I think it's really fascinating. And you mentioned Lamar. I think that's another reason why Derek Carr over the next 10, 11 days, you have to make a decision quick because eventually Rodgers becomes potentially available. If not, maybe Jordan Love becomes available. Lamar will probably get the franchise tag, and then the Ravens have to make a decision on him. And if he were up for grabs, that's another spot that will potentially take away from Derek Carr. So it is really fascinating how, over the last 2 years, the NFL has changed where I felt like we didn't get a lot of quarterback movement, and now it feels like there's at least 4 to 5 big names that could change year to year. It's pretty interesting. All
right, that's the A group. Let's go to the B group. Phil Yates for ESPN did a piece yesterday. We talked about it on the podcast that we did. You can get it at 1045ESPN.com, wherever you get podcasts, about who the starting quarterback would be for each 30 of the 32 teams next year. A lot of them were easy. We know who the starting quarterbacks are going to be in Cincinnati and Kansas City and Buffalo. But when you get down to the unknowns, he put Baker Mayfield with the Saints. What say you about Baker Mayfield coming to New Orleans to be the starting quarterback?
It's interesting. I know that's, a name that's kind of been floated around, and I think that Baker Mayfield did some really good things towards the end of last season with the Rams. My concern for Baker Mayfield, though, is I just don't know if his skill set is technically the right fit for the Saints right now. I think that this is a team where not only are they just, all in on veteran leadership and kind of getting that signal caller in there that will just keep the ship afloat, I think there are some concerns about Baker because although, I mentioned I thought he looked good with the Rams, there was a lot of bad during that stint with the Panthers. Now, maybe some of that can be on Matt Rule and whatever happened there, and that could be the case. But whether it was just the amount of passes getting batted down, the rough decisions he made, I mean, there was a game in particular, and albeit it was against the 49ers, a great defense, he looked absolutely lost out there. So I think Baker's one where you bring him in if it's not expensive, but if it comes down to Baker Mayfield versus, let's say, Andy Dalton, and Andy Dalton's the cheaper option, I think I'd actually, rather Andy Dalton come back in because you know what he does with that system. And again, you don't have your long-term guy. You're still looking, and he kind of just keeps it going from whatever happened last year. So either way, neither one's an ideal option, but I think that's where I'd probably lean because I think Baker Mayfield actually might be a little bit more expensive, but we'll see. I think his market's still TBD in terms of what people are willing to offer.
If Yates is right and Mayfield became the starting quarterback for the Saints next year, I think it would increase very highly two events, the likelihood of them happening. Number one, the Saints would be looking for a new coach after the season, and number two, the Saints would be in position to draft their quarterback of the future, Caleb Williams or whoever, in the 2024 draft. That's if they bring Mayfield in, but that's just me. All right, Combine. Biggest positions of need for the Saints pre-free agency as they start up in Indianapolis today.
Yeah, I think the two that I'm looking at in particular, and I'll just take quarterback out of it because you mentioned free agency, just seems like Derek Carr is who they're leading towards right now. I'm looking at running back, and obviously when it comes to running back, people are going to gush over guys like Bijan Robinson, and rightfully so. He is just an incredible prospect. But kids from Alabama, even Tyjae Spears from Tulane, you look at Zach Evans from Ole Miss, there's going to be guys out there at the Combine that people should want to keep an eye out on and see what they can do because the Saints are absolutely going to need an influx of talent there. And the other position, kind of flipping it over to the defensive side of the football, I think the Saints are going to need to get better on the D-line. I think the future of Marcus Davenport's still up in the air. But even if they were to bring him back, no one would really feel overly confident about what he would do, not just production-wise, but also health-wise. So I think some names that people are going to look at, and one that's kind of been linked to the Saints a little bit, is Lucas Van Ness from Iowa. And in terms of body size, he kind of fits their mold, 6'5", 275. Production, could it be a little bit better? Maybe, but he's an intriguing guy, and I wouldn't be surprised if he puts up some big numbers at the Combine and kind of solidifies his status as a first-round pick. And with the Saints at that 29 spot, he could be in the vicinity of where they're looking at. So right now I'm looking at running back and D-line.
Chris, as always, we appreciate the time. Thanks for spending a few minutes with us today. Boot Crew Media is where you find his stuff. Chris, thanks a bunch. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for having me.
And we'll take a break here. We'll come back with some of your questions here by you for chat. And we will do that when we return here. Hanny Time, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time.
Big Mike's in Denham Springs. Got a jitterbug lessons going tonight. Swamp Pop jitterbug lessons going tonight at 6 o'clock, followed by a live DJ on stage. And live music coming up this weekend at Big Mike's is from Titanium Rain on Saturday. Always a good time at Big Mike's. If you're looking for hot ball crawfish, they got them every day, starting at 11 o'clock. Or if you'd rather ball shrimp, Monday nights is all you can eat ball shrimp from 5 o'clock until close. Happy hour drink prices go not only Monday through Friday from 3 until 7, but all day on Sunday starting at 11 a.m. So if you're going in to watch, listen, we're going to have some big college basketball weekends coming up for the next month, be it conference tournaments. Well, this weekend's the end of the regular season, conference tournaments, and then the NCAA tournaments. Watch them at Big Mike's. Be a part of the atmosphere there. In the heart of Denham Springs on Aspen Boulevard, Big Mike's, we're kind of a big deal.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge. Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust poll of the day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, Hanny Time, Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the poll of the day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $10,000 off new 2022 Ram 1500s. 2022 Ram 1500 trucks on our lot now with $10,000 off MSRP. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. If you need sales or service, the crew at Bayou is going to do right by you.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck.
Fridays off the bench. Let's get ready for the weekend, guys. Talking a little baseball, a little combine, a little women's SEC basketball tourney, a little gymnastics. Off the bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
This is Hanny Time with Charles Hannegriff on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou Ford chat asked me what the top 3 Louisiana dishes are. Well, we could do 5 shows on this. Off the top of, not off the top of my head, I actually, looked at this a little bit during the break. All right, I'm going to give you, in no particular order, crawfish étouffée, shrimp creole, and ball crawfish. I mean, those are 3 things that in Louisiana, they simply can't be beat anywhere else in the world. Those 3 dishes. I could go on. I could do 24 of these things, but held down. I mean, look, the shrimp here, the shrimp and the crawfish here, you can do so many different things with them. So that's where I'm at on that. A professional opinion on it.
I nominate red beans. Got to mention them.
Red beans. Okay. Where's your guy Mayo?
Shout out.
You follow Mayo on Twitter. He's entertaining.
Oh, he was hilarious last night.
Yeah, so many different ways that you could go when you talk about that. Todd wants to know: do the Pels get to the 6th seed and avoid the play-in? I doubt it. that would require you to climb over at least 3 teams and a fourth if you count Utah, who they're tied with right now. And it's got to be those teams because Phoenix, who is still mathematically catchable, now has Kevin Durant, so you're not going to catch them. The Warriors are getting healthy, so you're not going to catch them. That leaves the Clippers, Mavericks, and Timberwolves. I think Utah will fall back. The Clippers, the Mavericks, and the Timberwolves that you got to climb over. It's just unlikely that they will get over all 3 of those teams. Although Luka and Kyrie together doesn't look great early, and we don't really know what the impact of Russell Westbrook's going to be on the Clippers yet, but I would say it's unlikely. I think realistic for the Pels, I would say the 7 or the 8 seed, so you're on the positive side of the play-in. But the 6th seed, I think, is going to be a bit much. So that's kind of my thoughts there. Let's see what we got. We got college basketball tonight, college baseball tomorrow. We'll be at Rufino's. Kyle Peterson will be our guest tomorrow as a part of that show, getting ready for week 3 of college baseball. For Taylor and Mario, I'm Charles Hannigan saying thank you and good afternoon. Stay tuned for Hunt Palmer, 104.5.